Hello, student. Welcome to Standard 9th History and Political Science. Let us continue the political science lesson first, post World War and political development. We'll just have a look what we have studied so far in the previous lecture. So we had seen the World War took place in in the world, and world was divided into two groups. Then we had seen how the dictator arose in Germany, Italy, and Spain. Now let us begin the Second World War. Because of this dictator, the Second World went into Second World War. So let us begin the Second World War. We will study that the Second World War was fought between 1939 and 1945. So more or less it was fought for about 6 years. The It proved to be far more destructive than the First World War. Day and night, my dear student, this war was fought. First World War, let us compare. First World War was also fought day and night for about 4 years. Second World War was fought about 6 years. First World War was fought only in Europe, but Second World War was fought in Europe and Asia. And the weapons were used, the latest weapons were used in the Second World War, and therefore it was far more destructive than the First World War. Not only was it made widespread compared to the First World War, but also more advanced technology was employed in this war. Countries which took part in the Second World War once again faced a situation of economic crisis. So, in the World War, we know that the countries took part were Britain, France, Russia, Italy, and America. They formed the Allied power, and their opponent was Central Power, Germany, Austria, Hungary, Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. In this way, world was divided into two camps, military camps. And now, here, World War II, again the countries were involved. Quite a many countries were involved in the Second World War. From the Allied power, Britain, France, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, India, Soviet Union, China, and America. And the Axis powers, Germany, Japan, Italy. These were the groups which were fighting against each other. So let us write the Second World War was fought between 1939 and 1945. What events were unfolding in India during this period? What was the effect of the Second World War on India? So, in short, I will say that during this time, the mass movement was going on in India, and uh, the struggle for freedom was intensified. Mahatma Gandhi took active lead in it, and in the year 1942, he has launched the next movement, the third movement. Earlier two movements we know that non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, and the third and most important movement in the year 1942 was launched. That is Quit India movement. The British government had sent Indian people to fight the Second World War uh, without taking the consensus of the political parties, the Congress Party, and therefore Congress Party was quite annoyed with the Britishers. Without asking them, they had taken our soldiers to fight the World War. Secondly, uh, as the Second World War was fought, the British economy had totally collapsed, and therefore, after the World War, after 1945, Britishers to hold power in India became very difficult. At the same time, the the movement became very strong in India, and therefore the result that they were forced to give independence to our country. So let us continue the Second World War. During this time, America played a major role in the Second World War. It had manufactured nuclear weapons. So Einstein had prepared this nuclear weapon, and in order to end the war, it dropped two nuclear weapons on the two cities of Japan, that is Hiroshima and Nagasaki, on 6th and 9th of August 1945, respectively. And these nuclear power uh, destroyed both the islands, and thus America realized that these weapons are far more destructive, and mm, unconditionally Japan surrendered to America. The Second World War ended with the defeat of Germany in Europe and of Japan in Asia. Among the many events took place in the world after the Second World War was the beginning of the Cold War. In 1945 to 1991 is the long period, near about 45 to 46 years period of the Cold War. Let us take a stock of a few changes in this period. Cold War is a situation where there was no open war between the countries, but there was such a tension in their relations that the war might take place at any time. This condition is called as Cold War. America and Soviet Union, who were allied in the Second World War, became competitors as soon as the war got over. The cooperation between them gave way to rivalry. So now they became both the powers became rivals. This rivalry occupied for a period of 40 to 45 years of international politics. There was no open war between these two countries, but there was such a tension in their relations that it seems that a war would erupt any time. The concept of Cold War is used to describe the condition where there is no actual war, but there are such a tension in the circumstances that they may be responsible to cause war. In this period, America was already a superpower, but the Soviet Union also tried to become a superpower by making nuclear weapons and by increasing its military might. So, at that time, the thinking was that the countries or the nation who had nuclear power and mighty military is considered as superpower. America and Soviet Union or Russia had these, both the countries had nuclear power, nuclear weapon, and the military, strong military. Thus, the struggle for power, arm race, differences in ideologies, attitude of checkmating each other by strategies and counter strategies gave rise to Cold War. So this was the situation that anytime the war will raised, but actually no war was fought between these two superpower. So the whole world was suffering during this time, and both the power wanted more and more countries to join them. So let us see what were the effects of the Cold World War. I'm sorry, what were the effects of Cold War? Creation of military organization. During the Cold War, both the superpower created military organizations. The respective superpower took up the responsibility of the security of the countries joining the military organization led by them. So both the superpower wanted other countries to join them, and if the smaller countries joined them, it was the responsibility of this superpower to give them the military help during the crisis. NATO, that is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was a military organization under the dominance of America. So NATO was American organization, military organization, while the Warsaw Pact was a military organization under the command of the Soviet Union. In this way, world was divided again in two superpower, and no war was fought. But any time the war would erupt, this was the situation. So, what is your opinion? Is there any correlation between the advance in technology and world peace? What do you think about it? The world peace is dependent on the power, that is military power. The second question is, how can technology be used for human welfare? So here the technology was used for human destruction. That is, Hiroshima and Nagasaki was destroyed totally by using the nuclear power. This was the latest technology then, and it was utilized for destruction. Now the trend came that we have to use such technology for human welfare. Nuclear power can be used to produce electricity, then in the pharmaceutical, in the agricultural field, and so many other fields it can be used rather than using the nuclear weapon. So in this way, the human welfare can be achieved through this nuclear power. So let us move on to the next topic, that is bipolarization of the world. Bi means two. Polarization means two poles, opposite poles. So world was divided into two groups. That is, one side America, the superpower, the other side the Russia or United Soviet Russia and America. So let us see. During the Cold War, most countries of the world joined either the two superpower blocs. Such a division of the nation of the world in two groups is considered as bipolarization. More and more countries started joining either America or either Soviet Union. The scope of the Cold War increased due to this. The sphere of tension spread. In this way, world was divided into two superpower blocks. What changes took place after the bipolarization? We are going to see in the next part. Till then, goodbye.